les élites au départ. Voilà, départ dans le soir. Bravo pour accélérer l'histoire. Bravo pour la démarche. We can upload on the group. Dans le CERATIZIT.
Avec efficacité et précision dans le développement d'outils innovants, qu'il s'agisse de forêts ou de pièces d'usure, nous restons dans le domaine du micron. Avec savoir-faire et esprit d'équipe, nous misons sur la technologie pour progresser ensemble. Que ce soit dans la fabrication de moteurs performants, de puissantes turbines ou de minuscules composants destinés aux vélos de compétition. Pour des performances optimales du début à la fin, de la matière première à l'obtention de l'outil intégralement fini. CERATIZIT Group. Tooling the future. Avec efficacité et précision dans le développement d'outils innovants, qu'il s'agisse de forêts ou de pièces d'usure, nous restons dans le domaine du micron. Avec savoir-faire et esprit d'équipe, nous misons sur la technologie pour progresser ensemble. Que ce soit dans la fabrication de moteurs performants, de puissantes turbines ou de minuscules composants destinés aux vélos de compétition. Pour des performances optimales du début à la fin, de la matière première à l'obtention de l'outil intégralement fini. CERATIZIT Group. Tooling the future.
Goedemiddag, good afternoon and welcome from Luxembourg. This is the second stage of the CERATIZIT Festival. Elsy Jacobs, Garnich to Garnich, 105.3 kilometers. It doesn't seem much, but this is absolutely a brutal stage. We've had the prologue, we've had the longest stage yesterday in Steinfort, and this is the final stage already with a local big lap of 61.3 kilometers and then a local loop of 8.8. It's very short, much shorter than we have seen in previous years. It has one particularly nasty climb in it. We're going to do it 5 times, and it's a technical local lap, and it will invite the riders to attack relentlessly, I expect them, because the differences in the GC are awfully small, and with 10, 6 and 4 seconds on offer on the finish line for the first 3 on the stage. There's still a lot possible for the riders in the top 10 of the race to actually grab the overall win in this year's festival, Elsy Jacobs. Of course, last year we didn't have a race, but in 2019 the race was won by Lisa Brennauer. So we're going to look out for a successor to the German national champion, Lisa Brennauer. And that might as well be the woman in yellow at the moment, because Emma Norsgaard was mightily impressive yesterday in the sprint. This is the view of the finish line. As you can see, it's sunny. It's not very warm though, 10, 11 degrees. But at least it's not raining, which in itself is already a blessing for the riders. Because on this technical course, we need dry roads to make it as safe as we possibly can. The finish has changed a little compared to last year, and we're going into that a little bit later, because these are the images of yesterday. 91 kilometers from the line, an attack by Katrien Hammers and also Talita de Jong, but this was also a defining moment, because there in the yellow jersey on the deck is Lorena Wiebes. She has wounds to her knee and to her elbow. She did take the start today, but was already struggling on the first climb. But admirable work there by Lorena Wiebes yesterday, because like she said, you know, if you can't win yourself, you have to sacrifice for your teammate, and that is the woman in green, Lea Kirchmann, the number 2 of the Prologue, and that is who Wiebes is working for. This is the final time up the Sima Farm climb. Katrien Hammers of the breakaway of 2 with Talita de Jong and the German ride of CERATIZIT WNT is the last one to remain, and then overtaken by Ruth Winder. And also a very active ride from the riders of Jumbo-Visma, Canyon SRAM and Team Movistar. And after a formidable, stellar lead out by both Aude Bianique and Leah Thomas, Emma Norsgaard leaves nothing to chance today. She has had second places galore this year, but this is her first win, and she is incredibly happy, and relieved is the word that she said, to finally bring it home. And it was fantastic teamwork by the entire Movistar team. This is the GC, or this is the stage result first. Emma Norsgaard and Confalonieri in the same time. Then a gap of 2 seconds to the peloton led by Kirchmann, Chabet, Labou, Majorus, Swinkels, Winder, Marcus and Paulina Rooijakkers. There was a bit of discussion about that gap, but in the end it became 2 seconds. This is the GC with Emma Cecilie Norsgaard in first place, 4 seconds on Kirchmann, 8 on Swinkels, and then a few riders on 10 seconds with Confalonieri, de Jong, Uneke, Koster, and also in the top 10 Ruth Winder, Majorus and Marcus. But they will have to attack to actually get that yellow jersey, because on bonus seconds they will not make it. Green jersey also for Norsgaard, worn today again by Lea Kirchmann. They're both on 15 points. And then we have the mountain classification, where Katrien Hammers has 14 points and Talita de Jong 13, the 2 riders in the breakaway of stage 1. And we have 20 points on offer today. And it promised to be a very exciting battle for that polka dot jersey. And also leading the young riders classification, because she's only 21, is Norsgaard. 8 seconds on Swinkels, 10 on Uneke, Coponi, Labous, Van Rooij, Balsamo, Bertizzolo, Noemi Rück and Niamh Fisher-Black are the other young riders, the under 23 riders in that top 10. And that's what I love most about races like CERATIZIT Festival Elsy Jacobs, spotting new talent. My name is José Bain. Welcome here in Luxembourg. And of course, I'm not alone, because my friend and rhubarb connoisseur, Owen Rogers, is with me. Owen, what happened today so far, and what can we expect?
Good afternoon. Yes, it's been a very aggressive start. Within 5 kilometres, there was a massive fight for the front of the race, with a number of teams trying to give it a go. You can see here Claire Stay Strong, which is thoughts for Claire Faber, the local rider who was injured, quite badly injured in a training crash last week, just before the start of what is her home race. So everyone's thinking of her. She underwent surgery the other day. But as I say, we had a very aggressive start with a mechanical for Katrien Hammers, as you can see her with her hand up back there, the Queen of the Mountains. but there was no waiting for her. She managed to get back on with the help of Julie Letts there, number 4, the Danish rider. And the race settled before the first of the Queen of the Mountains. There, it was Talita de Jong, yesterday's breakaway hero, who managed to cross the line first with Hamas in second. So that means that de Jong is now the virtual Queen of the Mountains in this race, with Hamas 3 points behind, and Julie van der Velde took the last of those. And here are the 3 of them just off the front, but they didn't manage to get away, and the bunch is all together.
Yeah, after a very, very aggressive start, just like you said, things seem to be settling down in this race. These are live images with one of the riders of Massi Tactic at the front. Yesterday, we lost no less than 16 riders in the first stage. Hit hardest were 2 teams, with the WCC, the World Cycling Centre team from the UCI, losing 5 of their 6 riders. There's only 1 rider left, Anastasia Kolesava, a young rider from Belarus, and also the team from France, Stade Rochelet Charente-Maritime, lost 4 of their 6 riders. They have young Swiss rider Noémie Ruck left. She was 6th on the Yorkshire World Championships in Harrogate in the junior category, and Manon Souris is the other rider, French rider, in that team. Other riders abandoned. Wilma Olason, Lauren Kitchen, for example, Demi de Jong, the sister of Talita de Jong, Claudia Jongerius, Sophie van Rooyen. Those were the 16 riders who had to abandon yesterday due to either crashes or the race just being too hard. That means that we have 90 riders left, and a GC, Owen, where there's still everything to fight for. There's a lot of riders at that 10-second mark that you can bridge by winning the stage and getting those bonus seconds. But this lap, and I've ridden it this morning, really is it really invites riders to race aggressively.
Yes, it's a very short lap. It's only 8.5 kilometres, but just past the finish line, the peloton turn left up a steep little dig. It's a big ring dig, really, but it's certainly out of the saddle for a peloton as opposed to a lone individual. And then on the back of the lap, there is another climb which you've done, and then after that climb, it's really a long downhill towards the final 500 meters, left-hand turn, and then it slopes upwards. It's a wide road with very, very good road surface, so it'll be interesting to see just how this race finishes off and whether or not the laps will take their toll.
Valérie Demey, again, she was very aggressive yesterday in the stage, the rider in the purple floral T-shirt of Live Cycling. Opinions vary. You either hate it or you love it. It's nice. It's pretty. It's feminine. Do you like it?
I think I would prefer it if it were a different colour.
You're not a purple kind of
no,
guy.
I'm not a kind of purple geezer, really. So I think I would prefer it. Yeah, and they're just seeing the Claire Stay Strong hashtag. I understand Claire is still in hospital. She, because of her broken jaw, is not able to speak, but she can read any messages she's getting on social media. So, and
she does. So you can send her a message on her Instagram, and I will give you the address. Just put in some pause music. The address of Claire Faber, if you want to send her a message of support, FABESCH. So FABESCH on Instagram. So she reads the messages, and she will be very happy if you let her know that you're thinking of her. 77 kilometers to go of this race. That means that it's we have a crash at the end of the peloton. Yeah, Paulina Royak is one of the riders on the deck.
Yeah.
Or is it Evie Kuipers? No, it's Evie Kuipers.
Evie Kuipers. How do I say that? Kuipers.
Kuipers.
Yeah. Kuipers. I can't do the R's.
No, that's okay. Oh, she's holding her elbow. That is not a good sign. It's on the right side of the road. The Massi Tactic rider was the first one to go down. It seems but it's a faraway shot. Also, Laura Tomassi, one of the riders there on the deck, but it seems that Evie Kuipers is hurt the most. And she immediately grabs her wrist, and then you know that it's not good. So hopefully she can recover.
One of yesterday's victims is there. Yesterday started the day in the yellow jersey, and that's Lorena Vives. You can see her left knee and her left arm are bandaged up, but she's in amazingly good spirits. We both spoke to her before the start, didn't we? And she's just such a tough woman. She really is.
Can we say badass?
We can say badass.
Yeah, is that allowed? Yeah. Because she is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the way that she's riding now for her teammate, for Lea Kirchmann, is just admirable.
And it worked as you speculated yesterday. It was a question of getting on the radio, speaking to her teammates and saying, I'm not good for a sprint. It needs to be someone else. Ruth Winder with a hand up there in the US Champions jersey, just hand up, obviously has some issue whether or not she needs food or drink, or whether she has some form of mechanical we can't see at the moment.
Well, we're 30 kilometers into the race. I don't know the exact instructions, but normally it's feeding 50 kilometers into the race. Race commissaire here is Mr. Paul Watson, and we had to wait, well, quite long yesterday for other side, says Ina Joko-Teutenberg, other side. And that is, of course, true, because that's where the mechanic is. There was a long wait for the results yesterday. We got them 5 minutes to 12 last night, and that was because they had to correct the results by hand. It was a sloping finish, so the peloton was quite stretched out, and the transponder times were a second apart. But it was one peloton, so they had to correct that all by hand. Not a good thing, because of course also the teams were really waiting for those results. But these things can happen. It was hard finding a supplier to do the transponders due to the lockdown that they have in Germany, and a German company that normally does the work here just couldn't get to Luxembourg without a 10-day mandatory quarantine. So that seems a bit pointless if you have a 3-day race. So they had to look out for another supplier, and well, had to help them just a little bit with getting their results out. But that was today. That was yesterday, but today we have the results. 90 riders on the sheet, and a new attack happening with the drops. Le Col riders. Danny Christmas, indeed, and that was what I was about to say. Of course, she has some points for the Queen of the Mountains classification. She can still virtually win it, but it's still 15k out or 13k out until the next GPM.
I spoke to her before the race, actually, Danny, and she said she's not got much in the way of form yesterday, and when Hamas and De Jong went, she just felt she didn't have it there to go, and it was a slight mistake as well. She kind of wishes she did, because there was a good chance with 3 of them that they may have stayed away. But so it's sort of mixed emotions from her. She knows her form isn't quite there. She's still on the way up, but she also admits it to a slight mistake in thinking it was never going to get away, though it did.
That was never going to go so far. We have a slight breakaway there happening. One of the riders of SD Works had to abandon yesterday as well. Noskova, a young rider from the Czech Republic. So they're down to 5 riders with Majorus, Uneken, Shackley, Fisher Black and Cecchini.
Interesting little combination of riders here, because you've got a lot of teams represented, but will they be allowed? I mean, you can see, I think it's DSM is second wheel, but they're still trying to get away. You've got 2 from Drops, 1 from Jumbo Visma, Valcar Travel and Service. You've got Niamh Fisher Black from SD Works, and Juliette Labousse from DSM, but it's all back together. But we can see just how aggressive this race is, and it's going to need to be aggressive if anyone is going to take the lead away from Emma Norsgaard, because she's good.
She is,
and she has a very good team.
And there's a lot of burden off her shoulders after So many second places. And although she's only 21 years of age and very young for a superstar in the women's peloton, of course she really wants it. She really wants to have that win. And yesterday, finally, for the first time in the Movistar kit, she has the win. Well, Ruth Winder has a new radio, or has her radio restored. A little tongue out to her lovely SAG back home. Well, you can. She's lovely, Ruth Winder.
Yeah.
Very polite, very humble, and a great bike racer.
One thing we can see in this particular shot is wet roads. And whilst it might be sunny where they are now, it's not sunny here, and luckily the window has been replaced because there's water, there's raindrops on the window, and we can see that perhaps this might not be as straightforward as we thought. I checked any good cyclist has a number of weather apps on their phone.
I've got 2.
And I checked them this morning, all 3 of them, and they all said there was a 2% chance of rain. So
I had a few drops of rain this morning on my recon ride, which of course was painfully slow. But I did the course, although it was slow. But that means that I can really check the course in depth. So that's what I do for you people.
Number 122 there is Nina Berton. We saw her after a small crash yesterday. Luxembourgish rider from the Andy Schleck CP NVST Imolosh team.
Yeah, originally you can have 2 sponsor names, but they have 3. Imolosh also, the rain is now really coming down hard. Imolosh is a real estate company, actually, in the entire German and also French-speaking area. Immo is short for Immobilien, which is actually real estate. Yeah, the rain is now coming down, which is not a good sign for the riders, because it is a very technical lap. First time we get here across the finish line is at 44k to go, so that's just under an hour of racing left before they're back here in Garnich. And Owen, why is Garnich a staple here in the festival, Elsy Jacobs?
Well, I was just laughing there at Leah Thomas waving at those people back home in the States on the front there. Well, Garnich is a staple on this race because it is, in fact, the birthplace of Elsy Jacobs, obviously, after whom the race is named. Elsy Jacobs was a trailblazing cyclist, a real sort of hero in the development of the women's sport back in the 1950s and 60s. And she won the first ever Road World Championships, which happened in Reims in France, the capital of Champagne, if you want to say it in French, where you can learn about, we'll talk about wine later.
I'm not a wine drinker, I'm just a cheese aficionado. But we have cheese as well.
We have cheese, yeah. But she, not only did she win the first, we have hail now, by the way, outside. It's a bit distracting.
It is actually hail.
She won the National Championship, the Luxembourg National Championship, 15 times between 1959 and 1974. Bear in mind that Christine Measuris hasn't quite reached that total in the one discipline, at least. I think she's on 30 now in 3 disciplines. But she also set the year that she won the World Championship, she also set the hour record of 48.007 kilometres.
48?
Sorry, that's I'm talking rubbish. 41.347 in the Vigorelli velodrome in Milano. It's Vittoria Bussi who set the 48.007
but I was just
altitude in Mexico.
I'm just going to interrupt here because we have an attack with Corin Rivera and also Anushka Koster, with one of the riders of the Liv cycling team trying to bridge across. Also some action from FDG, from Trek Segafredo. All the big teams are now getting into the action where the sun is still shining and the skies are still blue. We are here in a hailstorm.
it was interesting to see there that Christine Measures is there in that little group, but she's on the back and she's not working because she's not convinced that this is going to go anywhere. She'll commit, and she will commit 100% when she knows it's worth putting the energy in.
We have Leah Thomas there as well. Taylor Wiles is there in that group. The Norwegian rider, Ottestad. Nice little group happening there, and many riders are trying to bridge across, but it's quite early to set up this attack, and there will be a lot of watching and looking and how far will this go, but in the end things will slow down just a little bit while the heavens have well and truly opened, and people are concerned now that we don't have any windows after I knocked them out yesterday, but they have been repaired, not by me, but they have been repaired, and I will not touch the window today, Thomas.
Well, please don't, because if it does fall out we will get wet, and you have no reason to, because we don't want to get wet. This is fabulous. And this is what we like to see. Park Hotel Valkenburg just there on the front. Rihanna Marcus is looking to just drift onto that back wheel, but without putting too much effort in. Like we say, 71.2 kilometers yet to go. She does not want to commit this far out.
Park Hotel Valkenburg, of course, lost some of their most important riders, most notably, of course, Davy Vollering. But team manager Raymond Roll managed to get a new generation of super strong young riders. Even 2001 with Amber van der Hulst, a rider is also active on the track. Julia van Bokhoven did really well in the Amstel Gold Race, and this is, if I'm not mistaken, Misha Bredewold. Also on the team, Femke Gerritsen, former junior national champion, and Sophie van Rooyen was born even in 2002. And the team captain there is Belle de Gast. She's been around for a long time, and of course, even if you're a development team, you need also experienced riders to help you out.
Yeah, she's on a hiding to nothing really. You know, she's got what, 20, 30, 40 meters, but to get away with 70k left to go, she's just going to be on her own. You can just see behind the green jersey of Leah Kirchmann just looking around. Well, I'm not going to chase. Movistar and Katrin Hammes, I think, having a go in the CERATIZIT WNT jersey, just having a go. Hammes, as I said yesterday, is a consummate breakaway specialist, so she'd love to be up there. Two women can make a good effort of this. I think one woman on her own, it will be very, very difficult. There's wind, the hail is just stopping here, but
you can smell that smell after the rain.
Yeah,
it's got raining a lot.
It has a name, and I can't remember.
I can't remember it either.
I follow a man.
It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't reproduce it at the moment.
I follow a weather forecaster on Twitter, and he was talking about it last week because we hadn't, unusually, folks, I know, had any rain in the UK for a long time, and he could smell it. He said.
I'm just trying to think what the name is. I know it, but I can't.
Something of the gods.
It's
translated
it's a Latin name.
Yeah.
Misha Bredewold is a Dutch rider. She was born in June 2000, so she's going to be 21 in June of this year. A very promising young rider in the junior category, best of one of the best of her generation. But then in August, just a month before she was on the shortlist for the World Championships, she was hit by a truck, and it was absolutely, the results were devastating. She had so many injuries that she was in the recovery center for I think 6 months, living there trying to get back. She had of course a lot of physical damage, but one of the things that she struggled with as well is cognitive damage, trouble reading, focusing. She had trouble with getting back to school, back to university. But it's absolutely admirable to see how far she is now coming. Only 20 years of age, Misha Bredewold, a name to remember, I can tell you that, a name to remember, because this will be one of the new talents in the Netherlands. And maybe if you listened yesterday, her boyfriend is Edo Maas, the young rider of Team Sunweb by then, who was hit by a car in Piccolo, Lombardia, and is paralyzed from the waist down. He's a very accomplished artist now at the moment. He's going to art school in Rotterdam, and they make an amazing couple together. She's been through it and is going back to the level that she was aiming for. Edo did say to me in an interview I did with both of them for Cycling Tips that it's still painful to go 2 races with her, because he's the guy in the wheelchair, and then automatically is her boyfriend, and then deducted that must be Edo. But they're a lovely couple.
She's actually got a good gap as well. She's really persisted. It took a little time, especially trying to get away on the descent, but she's got away, and she's got 25 seconds, which is a good lead, and this does get the team out there.
Yeah, and she was really up there yesterday as well. She finished with the bunch at 2 seconds from Norsgaard. So she had a good stage yesterday as well, Misha Bredewold. Of course, Twitter is very active with our question. Our tip of the tongue word for the first rain after a while is Petrichor. And Dick Soeperberg, the photographer of Sportfoto.nl, says Petra, of course, means rock in Greek, and Chor is actually called the blood of the gods. So you were right with your remembering there, but it smells exactly like that.
And let's get on to wine just very briefly. You can often find, if you can imagine a hot sunny day and a piece of stone, a piece of natural stone or pebble, and if you can just imagine the sort of dusty smell of water on that stone, perhaps at the edge of a river, you often get that in Chablis.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, but I don't drink wine.
But this is directed at our viewers.
Yeah, of course, they probably drink
so
wine.
Nip out and get yourself. Just asking for the time gap there, but nip out, get yourself a nice bottle of Chablis, and see if you can swirl it around in the glass, have a good sniff, and see if you can get any of that wet stone.
There's absolutely no limitations to the kind of knowledge you have, is there?
Yeah, but none of my knowledge is of any use to anyone.
Well, that's absolutely. I was in a world famous TV quiz in the Netherlands about 10 years ago, and I am full with all sorts of useless things, but they come in incredibly handy when you take part in a quiz like that. And we were the highest scoring losers in years.
Really?
Yeah, you don't buy anything, but you're still the loser. But it was a lovely experience, though. 40 seconds is what the race radio says for Misha Bredewold of the Parkhotel Valkenburg team. And that is exactly what it is, a hotel in Valkenburg on the foot of the Stibbegrubbe, one of the climbs that's normally part of the Amstel Gold Race as well. It's quite a big hotel if you enter Valkenburg. And it's been a sponsor of a women's cycling team for quite a while now. Of course, they get a lot of great invitations to the biggest races and giving their young riders experience, like I said. Most of these riders are 20, 21 or even 19 years of age, which is absolutely necessary to develop the new generation of Dutch cyclists, because, like I said yesterday, most of the big Dutch cycling stars are well into their 30s. Yeah,
they are. But I think plenty of them have the ability to go on for some time yet. Though, of course, we know that Chantal van der Blak and Anna van der Breggen are retiring at the end of this year. You can see all the mud splatters across her face. I love that look.
It's a bit like Danique Hengeveld tried, for example, in Scheldeprijs. These kind of all or nothing attacks that get you noticed.
Yeah. And
maybe the peloton thinks, oh, you will just give us some room, and not really aware of the talent that this young woman has. But 65 kilometers is over 1.5 hours of racing still to go. It's a very daring attack.
I was going to finish what I was saying about
Chablis? Or Elsy Jacobs?
No, about Elsy Jacobs. She started race. She lived here in the village of Garnisch with her family and one of 2 daughters and I think 4 sons. They were all cyclists. Her sister left to work in London, so she decided that she'd join her brothers riding and soon found that she liked it. But of course was unable to get a race licence. There were no women's races in Luxembourg, so she'd travel across the border to Belgium. She applied for a licence for the Luxembourg Federation but was unable to get one because girls don't race.
No.
And as you can see right in front of you.
Well, this is 60 years ago, 70.
Yeah, so she couldn't get a licence and but she'd just turn up to races, plead ignorance, say that she didn't know she needed a licence, attack and ride off the front. And then she was one of the true pioneers of stage racing within France. And when the Belgian Federation and the British Federation applied for a world championship, her and some of the leading French women put pressure on, and it was voted down in 1957. But in 1958 it was accepted, more countries got on board, and finally she got her Luxembourg licence and represented the country as the sole member of the team in Reims, attacked on the 2nd lap and waved goodbye to the rest of them and won the Worlds. And of course the sport would have developed for women without her, but she pushed it along and is a hero, and that's why I'm proud to be here in Luxembourg commentating on a race in her memory, because sadly she died in February 1998, aged only 64.
Yeah, she was quite young. I remember that from previous years that we discussed her life, and of course, like we said yesterday, maybe a bit smirking, but mostly in admiration. She worked at a farm as well, just being a farm girl and working full days on the fields and then having a cycling career on top of that.
She was famed. Well, the rumour is that she managed to harvest 250 kilos of potatoes in one day.
Oh wow, that is impressive.
That's a hard day. That is a hard day, I imagine, having never harvested a potato. That's not true. I did once get lost in a field in Wales.
With the savages?
With the savages. And there were no savages in Wales, of course. Only in Cambridgeshire.
Before we get angry Welshmen.
And bear in mind, my first name is Welsh and my mum was Welsh. So
I've never been to Wales, so I can't judge. But
slightly defensive.
Seeing from the pictures, it's amazing.
It's a beautiful place, yeah. But I was lost in a field, and there was a field of potatoes, and so I picked. We didn't have anything to eat, so I picked them, washed the mud off, and ate a raw potato. And I now know why in French they're called pommes de terre. Because they taste like earthy apples.
This is so much information and so much things that I just didn't know about you. All the things that you experience. It's like my life is boring. Owen Rogers.
Well,
I just put the article with Misha Bredewold and her boyfriend Edo Maas on my Twitter feed at Tour de José to read after the race, of course, to get to know Misha a little bit better, her story and her fight back to where she is now, and the story of Edo Maas as well. I put it on my Twitter feed for you to read. That was one of the parts on the climb to Don de Lange, or Dudeling, so like they say here in Letzeburgs, where we don't have enough cell reception, unfortunately. So we have to resort to a shot of an old man walking to the bus stop.
If you see the line of conifer trees beyond where you can see the CERATIZIT WNT bus, the 2 conifer trees, that is the road that comes in from the descent. And they drop down just a little bit past the Trek Segafredo bus that you can see, down to where the CERATIZIT WNT bus is. And then it's uphill. And it's not steep, I would say 4% at the absolute maximum. And it's a lovely road surface. It's the kind of road surface that even I could sprint on. I might only get up to about 30k an hour, but I could sprint on it.
Well, we're on top of the climb, and of course, Misha Bredewold has 5 points. She didn't have any points just yet for that Queen of the Mountains classification, but she is absolutely first up the hill. The lead that she has is still 40 seconds. After 44 kilometers of racing, riders started at 2 o'clock local time, meaning that we have 1 hour and 6 minutes of racing so far. And that's a pretty good average that these women are doing at the moment. Yesterday, it was a 38k average, and I think we'll have more or less the same today. The actual racing will happen on the local laps because, you know, 61k up from the finish line is a pretty long distance to really make it aggressive just yet. And it's another 25, no, not 25, 16 kilometers to the finish line.
She's an interesting rider. I'd like to be able to see the top of the climb, actually, that she's just come over, because I'd like to see the fight between Hamas and Dalita de Jong to see who managed to get the points. That hasn't come over race radio just yet, has it?
We'll have to wait for the jury to confirm that, of course, on the race radio. As you can see, she's pretty high up in the general classification because she finished with the bunch yesterday, so the 20-odd seconds she is behind race leader Norsgaard is actually what she lost in the prologue. She was one of those many riders finishing the race in 3:30, 3:31.
42 seconds, so no one's giving her any space, not even the kind of space that de Jong and Hamas had yesterday. No one's in the mood to let anything go, because this race will become incredibly frantic on those final circuits. Circuit racing, short circuits, tend to be quite frantic anyway, but in a race like this, where the GC will be decided on those short circuits, expect real fireworks.
Yeah, this is
Anna
the moment
Christian,
that Lorena Wiebes is abandoning, and who can blame her? She tried to start the race, and she already saw on the first incline we had today that it was going to be really, really hard. We could actually see, Owen, that the fluids were oozing through the bandages on her knee, that the wound was still very open and probably very painful. The day after the crash is always worse. Probably didn't have a lot of sleep.
She said she slept okay. I don't know if I believe her, because she's just really bashed up on her left side. She is bashed up.
But she's going home to recover. There's plenty more races to go this year. And also Lorena Wiebes is only just 22 years of age. She will be back in action next week. A race in Belgium, the Grand Prix EcoStruct, great name for a race, of course named after the sponsor. And also women's racing next week from Valencia in Spain, a 3-day stage race.
Or Valencia.
Or Valencia, exactly.
There's certainly an effort to get across to Bredewold there. There's a couple of riders just trying to make the effort, but I don't think the bigger teams want anything to go. It's just eased off back there.
It's absolutely not 43 seconds at the moment for Misha Bredewold. She tried, but just like you said, when she attacked Owen, she was looking around and hoped that somebody would join her in a breakaway of 3, 4, maybe 5 women. That would have stood a better chance than trying it on your own. But the fact that the peloton is already trying to catch her means that, well, we're in for a treat, I think, on these local laps with the 2 climbs. The local lap is much more difficult than the one we had yesterday. I think in these 8.8 kilometers, we have the same amount of meters of elevation that we had yesterday on the 20-kilometer lap. So it's far more intense. Straight after the finish line, we go up to 6-7%, and then a sharp turn to the left. The climb there gets even steeper with 8%, and then rolls out to 4-5%. And especially the descent is super fast and also very technical, and
with a tight left-hander at
with
the
a
bottom.
very tight left-hander.
Yeah.
A lot of hay bales there already this morning. Luckily, I have pretty good brakes. But for me, it was a full brake-on descent.
Of course, that descent was a climb in the Prologue in the 2009 race.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And it's windy over there as well.
It's, on the top, it's absolutely windy.
Yeah.
The results of the second Queen of the Mountains, Misha Bredewold, of course, getting those 5 points. Second place, Talita de Jong, and a third for Kathleen Hammers, meaning that Talita de Jong goes clear another 2 points on Kathleen Hammers in that Queen of the Mountains classification. And, well, Talita de Jong is absolutely going for a place on the podium.
Is it 5-3-1, isn't it?
5-3-1, yeah. Gap is widening up just a little bit because, well, just like you said, Owen, peloton is holding back just a little bit. We are going south now, meaning that this is a tailwind for the riders. We still have a stern northwestern wind here in Luxembourg, and, well, it was pretty cold wind as well. Temperatures this morning just barely above 0, and with the wind coming from the north, it makes it even worse. And even now, it's, well, I think it's 8 degrees out there. It's cold.
I have to say that now it's, well, last week when I last went out on my bike on Thursday, it was the end of April, and there's no way I'm going to wear overshoes or long-fingered gloves or even full-on bib tights at the end of April. No, I didn't. I refused to. I was freezing cold.
I'm still in my sub-zero bibs.
Really?
Yeah. No. But I ride usually at 8 in the morning, so it's cold. But I never wear overshoes.
Oh no, I can't do that. I wore toe covers.
my father wears 2 pairs of gloves and overshoes. But I never have cold fingers or cold toes. Cold everything apart from fingers and toes.
Down to 25 seconds now, the advantage for Bredewold. She's got a lovely position on the bike, hasn't she? Forearms parallel with the ground, right over, presenting as small a target for the wind as she possibly can. Some spectators out there on the Sunday club run.
There were a lot of people on the bikes here in Luxembourg, and, well, if you have possibility to travel to this country and you have a bike, don't forget to bring it, because the circumstances here are absolutely great. They have a fantastic network of bike paths, and not bike paths that are 1 meter wide, but just proper ones, kilometers and kilometers on end, without any cars allowed, good surface, and, well, some pretty challenging climbs. If you go towards the Moselle region, so with the border with Germany, pretty steep climbs there in the wine growing region. Those are on terraces there on the side of the river, and the Tour de Luxembourg for men usually goes through that region, and those are climbs of 12, 13, 14% proper wall climbing. The Festival Elsy Jacobs always is in this area of the country, offering, well, also very interesting climbs I've noticed so far, and it's never really flat.
No.
Not a meter. I did 40k this morning at 500 meters of elevation, so that's a lot.
Yeah.
At the back of the bunch there with number 25 is Taylor Wiles, and just ahead of her with number 22, Amelie Diedrichsen. Of course, she is eyeing Olympic fame on the track in Tokyo, together with, well, I assume Julie Lett, because they are the former European champions as well.
The two were having a good chat on the start line this morning.
Well, they've been on a training camp 2 months ago, 1.5 months ago, with the Danish national team.
There was a of course, a track meeting recently in Ghent, and a lot of teams went there. The British were there, and the Belgians were there. But sadly, the Danish weren't there, which is unfortunate. So we weren't able to see where they are in the big scheme of things. But the pair will be racing the Madison, hopefully.
The other rider for the Madison shortlist is Trine Schmidt.
Ah, of course. Yeah.
I remembered.
Yeah.
Almost at the halfway point in this short stage, 105 kilometers with one leader. If you're just joining us straight off the Tour de Romandie, which just finished, I won't say who won, but you can watch that on replay, or maybe you watched it live. This is the final stage of the CERATIZIT Festival. Elsy Jacobs, the first world champion, first female world champion, I should say. And she was born and raised here in the town of Garnich. The race is named after her. This is the 13th edition, a 3-day stage race in the UCI Pro Series category. We have 90 riders left in the bunch, or actually 89, because the winner of stage 1, or the prologue, I should say, Lorena Wiebes, has abandoned after her crash yesterday. She did take the start, did some work for the team at the front of the peloton, but just abandoned the race, sadly, is what we are told. We have one leader, Misha Bredewold, 20 years of age, a rider who is riding for the Park Hotel Valkenburg team. A very young team, of course. Many talents came through the ranks, most notably Demi Vollering.
Just as an aside, if you want to hear what Talita de Jong had to say about her exploits in the breakaway, you'll find a link on my Twitter, which is at Owen Rogers, OwenRogers, or alternatively you'll find the actual thing on my Instagram, and I don't know what my name is on Instagram.
Something
there you go.
with numbers.
Owen Rogers 382.
Oh, there's so many Owen Rogers.
Must be.
Wow.
But yeah, so you can have a look at that. They're just coming out of Steinfort, I think.
10 kilometers to go towards the finish line.
Yes.
We're going to Steinfort, where we were yesterday. Roads are closed for this race, a rolling closure, as they call that in cycling. So the police is a little while ahead of the peloton, trying to direct people off the road. There's always stubborn people or tractor drivers who will not follow the instructions of the local police force, ending up on the road. Usually that's announced on the race radio, like it just was with one of the cars in the town of Hagen. But it's not like the Tour de France, where they close off roads for 5 hours in advance, or World Championships, for example. And that's the difficult thing at the moment in Europe with bike racing. In the Netherlands, for example, the organizers of the Amstel Gold Race had to guarantee that there were actually 0 people on the side of the road. 0. And that's very hard to guarantee if you've got a big lap.
Yeah, I can't see how it helped really. People weren't. I think they were allowed to stand outside their house.
They were,
on
yeah.
the circuit, but that was it. And yeah, at least they got the race on, which is the most important thing, and that was fantastic. And it was an excellent race
For the women, yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember what happened in the men's race.
Yeah,
if I'm
not a lot.
honest.
The finish was the most exciting part.
Yeah, but it was an excellent race. But I felt that was perhaps over the top from either the local Limburg government.
It's a national guidance.
It's a national.
And they just extrapolate the rules from all sports. So whether you play handball inside or cycling, the rule is there's no spectators allowed. But it's very hard to guarantee that if you are having your event on public roads.
Yeah.
So that's why they had to close it off with big black screens and everything. There's not no more racing this spring in the Netherlands. Most of the races in the amateur circuit have been postponed to October, just like one of the other women's races in the Netherlands, Omloop van Borselen, a time trial and a road race, also to October. I think the first race is, well, maybe going to be the Dutch National Championships in the end of June.
Yeah. And where is that, Vanberg again?
On the Vanberg, yeah.
Those two races, I thought the Nationals, the Dutch Nationals last year, were both reasonably entertaining, bearing in mind they were both won solo by Van der Poel and Van der Breggen.
Yeah.
Actually, I was at the Giro Rosa just afterwards, and I did like Van der Breggen's Dutch National Championships.
And then she became world champion.
But then she had to fold it up and put it in a drawer and leave it there. And there's De Jong there on the back, number 161, just on the radio back to the team car.
Of course, the next GPM is something that she will have in mind, but that's 33 kilometers out from the finish line. So it's on the local lap that GPM counts twice. So not every lap that we get points on that steep little climb just after the finish line.
She's got plenty of time to move into position to score some points there.
And how is the score at the moment, the difference between De Jong and Hammers?
22 to De Jong. And Hammers is on 17, according to my calculations. It is still possible, but really, Hammers needs to win the next one.
Still 34 seconds for her. The confirmation of the second GPM, Grand Prix de Montagne, that's what GPM stands for. Of course, Misha, 5 points, and her gap is still 34 seconds. And she's just giving her all, trying to get some publicity for the team as well, and get her name out there, because that is the most important thing, of course. She wants a step up towards the highest levels of cycling, and she absolutely has it in her to go World Tour. But also, bear in mind, you have to take some time to develop as a young rider. If you go to a really big team, it doesn't automatically mean that you get better, because on a big team you usually get jobs to do. And in smaller teams like Park Hotel Valkenburg, for example, you get to ride for your own. You get to show yourself, you get to ride aggressively, take opportunities when they come, which is a better way to develop than just be a domestique on some of the biggest teams, I think. Although, of course, also the biggest teams in cycling, the World Tour teams, try to get their younger riders opportunities in smaller races as well.
And it's much as it is here, really. If you look at some of the teams, the World Tour teams, they have brought their younger riders.
Exactly. Races like this, or for example, next week in Valencia. It doesn't always have to be World Tour racing like Burgos later this month. Especially races like this is what we're lacking on the calendar at the moment. The smaller races for young riders to develop, and also riders who've never really made it to the absolute top 20, 50 of the world ranking to score some results. Because as a rider, you have to have some results as well to be able to cope mentally with the hard existence of being a pro bike rider.
Well, yeah, you have to have a proper pyramid of racing that allows, if you'll forgive the use of the word, the lesser riders, the lower level riders, to compete and win and develop. It has to be a pyramid. So there's a lot of talk about the top of the sport, as there should be. And that's always going to attract the most attention. However, the bottom is just as important, because without a firm foundation, there is no building. And so we mustn't ignore the lower level races, the 0.1s, the 0.2s, and even certainly in the UK is struggling for races at the moment. We have to have those races to allow the top to be sustainable, essentially. 50 Ks to go, and Bredewold now has 1 minute and 12 seconds, as you can see there on the screen. I know it looks like that car is actually pushing her along, but I can assure you the gap is not as great. And we just hear on race radio it's 43 seconds, not 1:12.
We are now 5 kilometers out from the finish line, going through Steinfort shortly, where we were yesterday, and then Garnich, which is only a few kilometers further away. Smaller teams like Park Hotel Valkenburg, they're not racing disc brakes just yet. It's not that in smaller teams you get new bikes every year. And new bikes, it's also new wheels, you know, if you have to go from conventional rim brakes to disc brakes, is not only buying a new frame, you have to buy everything new. And that's the kind of budget that smaller teams don't always have.
Is this the climb on the circuit? Because they've joined the circuit, haven't they?
I have to see a bigger shot to recognise it. Bredewold joined the team for this year, and like I explained, she's been out of the running quite a long time, being part of smaller amateur teams, having trouble finding races to do actually in 2020. But Park Hotel Valkenburg picked her up, and I think it's a good thing that they did. We are now on the course, by the way. This is on the race course.
Right, yeah. I do like Park Hotel Valkenburg. They're a good little team, and if you look at two of the most prominent riders in the peloton at the moment, with Vivis and Demi Vollering, you know, they've developed 2 fantastic riders there. And it is right that they both moved on to bigger teams, but I always fear for the future of the smaller teams when they lose those superstars and they have to rebuild.
I don't know exactly how the link is, but also the Jumbo-Visma team has Park Hotel Valkenburg on their kit. I do think there's actually relations between the 2 teams, that riders can step up to the Jumbo-Visma women's team from this team. I think there's a link there. Yeah,
I think part of the strategy was to have Park Hotel Valkenburg as a development squad for the Jumbo-Visma women's team.
Yeah, I don't know if it actually was formed like that, but that was the story initially.
Yeah, and of course the manager, the former manager of Park Hotel Valkenburg, Ezra Tromp, is now the team manager of the women's team at Jumbo-Visma.
Small ring climb here for Misha Bredewold. It doesn't look much, but this is still 5-6% this climb, and then we go into a super fast descent. Misha Bredewold has done quite a few big races already. Omloop het Nieuwsblad, Le Samin, finished them all, even finished that ridiculously cold and wet Healthy Aging Tour. She was 33 in Bruges, finished Gent-Wevelgem 25th in Ronde van Vlaanderen in her first Tour of Flanders. Finished almost all the races that she started in, and for a 20-year-old that is a good result, and it shows that she is approaching that level again that she showed as a junior rider, where she was well, I think one of the 10 best juniors of her year.
With results like that, surely someone needs to be looking at moving in for her next year.
But all in due time,
yeah.
Not necessarily next year again. Maybe staying on this team for another year. The team gets a lot of invitations, of course, still working on the points of the previous top stars, the UCI points that they have. This is the top of the climb, by the way, meaning that we're about 4K out from the finish line. And it's also the part where you can throw away your stuff. Not there, but that was the place where the soigneurs are. But the place where you can throw away your stuff is actually in the full descent, which is maybe not as smart. I was already going 50k an hour there, so these girls are even going faster. But we're now, this is the fast downhill going back into Garniche.
There was just the sign, the green zone sign on the right there, yeah. But of course, even faster with a tailwind and even faster with decent tarmac, which is what you tend to get here.
She's not descending on the drops, or she is descending on the drops.
No, she's just on the hoods there.
Yeah, I mean, she's not descending on the drops. Which I've always been taught that is the safest thing to do.
Well, I suppose it depends on what you're comfortable with. I do enjoy getting into a position similar to the one that she's in, although my beer belly tends to get in the way a little bit.
The gap of Misha Bredewold is going up again. 1 minute and 5 is what we hear through the race radio, as the peloton also climbs this second climb of the local lap. Some refreshments there for Esme Peperkamp, the rider of Team DSM, all the way at the back.
And the number 153 on the back there is Danny Christmas, former Lotto Soudal rider, and obviously now with drops, Le Col.
This is a tricky left-hand turn with some gravel there on the inside of the turn. And then we go through the town, and this is a technical part of the course with a lot of bales stacked left and right to make
sure. It's all downhill as well, isn't it?
This is a pretty technical part.
I drove this morning. It was a difficult drive.
It was easier on the bike, I think. After this descent, we have a small little kick up before we go down again, and then 500 meters out from the finish line, a 90-degree turn, which is going to be exciting leading into the finish line. And the finish line is as straight as it can be. Slightly uphill, like you said, Owen, 4% max. But if you time your sprint well, like Emma Norsgaard did, for example, yesterday, I think she's the big favourite to win another stage.
Yeah, she went from about, on an uphill sprint, from about 175 metres. That's a long sprint, but the fact that she just kept on opening her gap shows just how classy that was, and well timed, and knowing when to put the power down. You know, it really was an excellent sprint from her, and from excellent work from her team. They placed her perfectly, led when they needed to lead. It was a really good performance, just under the what will become the Flamme Rouge in 5 laps time.
Trying to take a little bit of that slipstream of the motorbike as much as she can, because of course she can't share the workload like you normally would in a breakaway with multiple people. This is a daring thing by Misha Bredewold, and of course she's not going to bring that home towards the finish line. But also she is on worldwide television now, which is important. Other people will see her results, will see the courage that she has, and it's an important step up towards getting that important contract.
Here we go, that left-hand turn. You'll see the Trek Segafredo vehicles there on your left-hand side, down to where I explained the CERATIZIT vehicles were, and we're onto the static cameras here. Right, in fact, on our heads. In fact, this is that static camera, I seem to recall.
58 seconds is the last gap for Misha Bredewold.
So beginning to come down now, and there will be action soon. Of course, we don't have to wait until Bredewold is caught for there to be action. There will be action just to bring her back. It'll be interesting to see whether a whole peloton catches her, or whether or not it's a reduced group that gets to her.
We're catching up with the peloton here, who are also underneath the Flamme Rouge into that left-hand turn. First time that the riders are doing this turn, but of course, being almost at the finish line, most of them have done
A bit of
a
an
little
effort
recon.
there from Hamas.
Well, there's no points on offer.
No, a little. She's just taking the lead there, and she's got. I think that's Loretta Hans. No.
It's Shirin van Androoy.
Just easing back into the bunch there, Hamas, realising there's nothing on offer. Saw the yellow jersey.
This is
Norska
that
back
kick
in there.
up towards the school and the start of the first climb of the local lap. This part is about 6-7% up. Then we have a small portion where you can recover until the second part of the climb. And up there, it's pretty windy.
As it leaves the village and bears around to the right, doesn't
Exactly.
it? It's always windy up there every time I've been here.
And this is quite a long climb. And that's where we can get the points in the next lap.
Last across the line. Didn't quite see a number there, sadly.
It was Kelly van der Steen. Rue de la Montée is the name of the street, which is actually translated as Mountain Street. So very aptly named. This is the second part of the climb, coming out of the village and then onto the plateau, also the highest point of today's course. And as you can see by the cadence, and she's also on the small ring here, this is a pretty steep climb. It's 6-7%, and it's dragging on quite long. The wind was coming from the side this morning. Let's see what happened here. Did somebody crash on the inside of the turn?
I think.
Oh, somebody
it's
went.
Taylor Wiles has
somebody went
overshot,
off
has
course.
she?
Well, of course, when we started, we went straight ahead, Taylor. So we do understand the confusion, but now we have to go left. And there she's catching back on, Taylor Wiles with the braid, the American rider.
The greatest pain face in the sport, as far as I'm concerned.
She
She
just
always
does it for
looks
us.
like she's on the verge of abandoning her face. She's got a wonderful grimace, and then she always gives more. She's a really classy rider.
Some riders will have difficulty on this climb, I assume. Riley McMullen, the rider of the Anne Schleck team there, New Zealand rider, but still very powerful is Misha Bredewald. Of course, her team car can't join her. The gap is not big enough, but luckily there is a soigneur, and I think that was Greek Neteman, if I saw that correctly.
And these loops now, we have 5 full laps of 8.8 kilometers. So this is where the race is really going to start happening. It's going to become much more dynamic as we go across here. And just where the motorcyclist in the orange there, that's the windy point, isn't it? It's yeah, it's not warm there.
Her teammate on the side of the road there was Sophie van Rooyen, who had to abandon yesterday, is now on soigneur duties on top of the climb. And the top is just 100 meters ahead of us, and then it's a pretty fast and technical descent. And the descent is much steeper than the climb. 29
seconds the gap is down to, according to race radio, just coming in our ears behind us. The local police have a Tesla. You can just see it over the front there. It's a very, very nice looking Tesla car.
I just left the hotel at lunchtime, and there were 3 Ferraris parked next to my rather modest Ford Focus.
I saw a red one across the road from the hotel when I left this morning.
So yeah, this is the top of the climb, then going down, and it's wet, and that is trickery. And this is a really fast downhill, and that will result in some great pictures there. Somebody in the field.
I think I saw Arne Mill, one of the photographers, on the left as we just went over there. So it goes down here, and there is a very, very tight left-hander when you get to the bottom.
Great camera work there by the cameraman on the motorbike, staying with the rider. Of course, Bredewold is trying to be as aero as she can, still has to touch the saddle in order not to be disqualified for the now infamous super tuck position.
A little kick up here. I think she's in the big ring. Yeah, she's back in the big ring there, so out of the saddle to...
This is always what I hate about descending. Then you're in a very fast descent, you get a little bit colder,
Yeah.
and then there's the little kick back up.
And she's just coming to that tight left-hander. It reminds me, that reminds me of descending off the Col d'Izoard, which is the only alpine pass I've ever been up.
On the bike, on the motorbike.
On a push bike, on
Wow.
a proper bike, yeah.
Jeez.
And I was flying. I think I had about 90 kilometers an hour on the clock.
Whoa.
And then there's a kick up. For those of you who've done it, as you head down towards Briançon, there's a kick up. And I'd overtaken a couple of guys on the way down, local guys, according to their club shirts. And I'd gone flying past them. The arrogant Englishmen hit this kick up, and I never saw them again as they came past me. My legs were absolutely fried. You can see just how tight that left-hander is.
Peloton completely stretched out after this little S-turn, actually. The
Yeah, it's a
riders will
tight
be
one.
able to catch back on. We saw the only rider left of the World Cycling Centre getting dropped there on the climb. Gap of Misha Bredewold is down to 27 seconds at the moment. But, well, she has been on the attack, what is it, 30 kilometres? Something like that?
Yeah, she went at 70 to go.
Exactly. This is a really great effort by her, but the peloton is coming close. We see that the commissaire's car has left Bredewold, meaning that the peloton is rather close. And there we are, led by Liv Cycling at the front of the bunch. Next time we get across to the finish line is at 35 kilometers to go. We now have another climb on this lap coming up. That is where Bredewold is at the moment.
And that's Niamh Fisher-Black of SD Works on the front. She's certainly shown herself. She's had a good ride here.
Well, the peloton will toy around with her just a little bit
Yeah,
more because
maybe.
we still have an hour of racing left to go here in Luxembourg, the second and, well, final stage already.
When do we do our predictions for the stage?
Oh, yeah, well, we can do them now if you want to.
Oh, dear.
If you want to share your predictions with us, tune in to our social media and let us know who your favourites for today's stage are. We have seen the local lap now, so you can more or less say who your favourites are going to be.
Whole of SD Works team there, bunched together, ready for work. That's
With, Lonneke.
Uneken, isn't it?
It
Yeah,
is
on the
Lonneke,
front
Uneken.
there, and then on her left, our right, as we look at it, it was Niamh Fisher-Black. 20 seconds the gap now for Bredewold.
Okay, I'll give you first choice.
Oh dear, really?
Well, I can have first choice, but we'll
Right.
probably have the same name.
Stage win, Confalonieri.
Oh, we don't have the same name. I'm going for Emma Norsgaard.
Yeah, I was
The
going to go
ban
for that.
has been broken and she's hungry for more. And there's just that weight lifted off her shoulders, and she knows now she can rely on fantastic teamwork. I think she's going to bring it home with 2 stage wins and the GC.
I think she'll get the GC, but I think the stage goes to Confalonieri.
That would be great for the team. Of course, they share the same sponsor as the sponsor of this race, CERATIZIT. So they have something to prove here. They want to show themselves. They want to show the jersey, make the sponsor proud, even though nobody can actually visit the race. So there's no hospitality and things like that. Normally we have this truck here with baked sausages
Oh, the hot
and
dogs
hamburgers.
here are to die for. They really are gorgeous.
And now we get like cold cold sausages.
Yeah,
It's just not the same thing.
I think I might stop at a service station on the way home.
That's pretty desperate. Oh, you have to drive home tonight.
Yeah, I have the remnants of a tube of Pringles and one muesli bar left.
Oh,
and
well.
I have a feeling that's not going to get me through.
I have one important question, Owen.
Go on.
How do you go through a McDrive here in Europe with your British car?
You don't.
You just can't?
No.
Or do you have to get out of your car and just walk around?
Doing the péage and stuff like that in the car, I just get out. On a motorbike, obviously it's fine, but in a car, I just can't be bothered to lean across.
Wow.
And so, as I came over here, the attack from Backstead.
Yes, indeed. We'll just leave the McDonald's alone and go back to the race with an attack here by Eleanor Backstead, followed by Harvey. Also following there, Chabet, Taylor Wiles. There is the pain phase again. Bredewold still lingers there at the front. This is Shirin van Anrooy, followed by Van Bokhoven. Van Anrooy, the two youngsters on the team with Backstead and Van Anrooy. Of course, already second-year elite riders. They didn't get a lot of races in due to injuries, both last year.
Is that Royakkers trying to chase her down?
It looks like her, indeed. The tall rider from the Liv racing team in the purple is Paulina Royakkers.
We often see Royakkers at the back of the bunch, not known as a rider who's particularly comfortable in the peloton. But I was very impressed to see her finish 10th yesterday. It was a sprint from a group of about 35 women. It was very impressive, yes, to see her finish there. So, yeah, 34 women finished within 2 seconds.
Shirin van Anrooy giving her everything, followed by Paulina Royakkers. I think it's Jadewiel of the FDG team. Also lingering in last place in that first group is Caroline Swinkels. Who's having a great race here.
This is the left-hander. Now they're going downhill, aren't they? Till 300 meters to go, essentially.
Yeah, we see it from a different perspective now. From the front of the bunch with Shirin van Anrooy. Comes from the province of Zeeland, which is in the far southwest of the country, bordering Belgium. The province with all the water and the big dam. Plural dams, actually. They were built there in the 1980s because in 1953 large parts of the province of Zeeland flooded. Almost 2,000 people were killed. And that's where they built the Delta Works, as it's called.
Interesting, in my area, the flat area of Cambridgeshire, in the sort of northeast of Cambridgeshire, it's all flat, but that's particularly flat as the north of the Netherlands. A lot of the drainage was built by Dutch, and so you'll see roads named after him, Vermeiden.
Really?
Yeah.
Looks like Jadewiel.
And who is the CERATIZIT rider?
I don't know, to be honest. So we'll have to wait for confirmation from the either bib numbers or the jury. We have some predictions coming in from viewers. Steven says she goes for Chiara Consoni. Good bet, Chiara Consoni. And Dick says he's going for a solo by Lonneke Uneke.
Oh,
that would be cool.
And these three riders just being closed down by a very aggressive-looking Cicchini for SD Works. You can see with the Italian tricolore on her sleeves. I think she's been national champion 3 or 4 times, hasn't she?
In a row, yeah. Now, of course, the champion's jersey is worn by Elisa Longo Borghini.
Is it Leolin Teutenberg?
That was my initial thought as well.
Another attack here. That's Van Anrooy again, I think, isn't it? Just as we're coming towards the line again, you can see the yellow jersey of Norsgaard very attentive there on the front. And Valcar Travel and Service, Consoni's team, just coming to help neutralise that move from the Dutch rider. Another move there. It's Jumbo-Visma going on the right-hand side of the road. And you can see this upping of the pace is starting to shell a few of the women out now. Number 22 there is Amelia Diederiksen, the 2016 Road World Champion and double junior Road World Champion.
Exactly. Another attack from the aggressive riding of Jumbo-Visma.
Brought back.
Great racing so far on the local laps with a very solid-looking Emma Norsgaard, I should say.
Yeah, she's in control here. She's near the front. She's well positioned. She's not at the front. I thought yesterday she was so well positioned throughout the entire day. I mean, bearing how striking her jersey is, her national champions jersey is.
We're on the Rue de la Montée again, the first climb of the circuit with Ruth Winder, followed by Elise Chabet.
Trek clearly have a plan here to put the cat amongst the pigeons and put the pressure on the peloton. And you can see Norsgaard is quite happy there. She's such.
Do you know what the Dutch
really
expression is for that? Throwing a club in the hen house.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Look at how stretched out the peloton is. This is only the second time of the climb. There's points on offer this time. So in 800 meters, we reach the top of this climb, and we have 5-3 and 1 points for the polka dot jersey. But I see neither Katrien Hammers nor Talita de Jong at the front at the moment. But looking very strong indeed is Emma Norsgaard in that yellow jersey.
And Chabet is really, first time I've seen her this year, really looking breathless. Fisher Black and her compatriot there. Is it Michaela Harvey or is it Ella Harris?
It's Ella, I would say.
I think it's Ella Harris, yeah, the different hair.
Harvey is the rider in 4th place. And of course, Anouska Koster.
Yeah, she's got a good pain face as well, hasn't she?
She has a pretty good pain face.
Anna Shackley just further back there, that shoulder you can see, the 19 or 20-year-old SD Works rider from Scotland, near Glasgow. 19 years old she is. She's looking forward to the 2023 World Championships, which will be held in Glasgow.
There is Talita de Jong. There she is, on her way to try and get those points to cement her win of the Queen of the Mountains jersey, sponsored by Imolosh. There she is in the blue of the Bingle Chevalmere team. No sign of Katrien Hammers. And we saw on that first climb when the live stream had just started, Owen, that she was smiling.
Yes, yeah.
But also just behind, in 2nd place in that group, just following there in the yellow jersey on the wheel of Taylor Wiles is Emma Norsgaard. So she's doing really well on this course. Also looking pretty solid is, of course, Christine Majus.
Yeah, I don't know what Taylor Wiles is doing if she's trying to lead that group across. She's got teammates in it. She should be leaving that to Movistar to do the work. I mean, Ruth Winder in this group would be a really, really good option. Perhaps second, perhaps only to Majus.
We're almost at the top of the climb, and let's see if Talita de Jong is going for those points.
Well, if Hammers doesn't score, she is, and
it's done.
Not quite. She's on 22 to 17.
The rider of the Stade Rochelet with the yellow and black jerseys is Noemi Ruck, a young rider, 20 years of age only, from Switzerland, was 6th in the Yorkshire, the last Junior Women World Championships we had, the one won by Megan Jastrab. And funnily enough, she hasn't been picked up by bigger teams, although she is clearly talented. She's also a cyclocross rider, Noemi Ruck, from Switzerland, now in a small French team, but she is about to join this elite group of riders, which is
some big names,
which is great.
Here. Yeah.
And that is the lovely thing about races like the CERATIZIT Festival, Elsy Jacobs, to spot new talent, new riders like we've seen with Misha Bredewold, of course, to make an appearance on the big podium. Majerus putting the hammer down. She has some teammates, of course, in this group. ST Works well represented at the front.
But I tell you who's missing is the green jersey. You can see Alea Kirschman just coming off onto the front of that chasing group, and she's really having to put an effort in to get across there.
Well, first climb of the local lap done. Then that tricky turn, and then a little bit of recovery until we go onto the second climb. The climb going in fast at the moment, and that means that it is going to be a race of attrition, and it's only 105 kilometers, but still, if you race it hard, it's going to be a hard race, no matter the distance. Well, pace is most clearly going down now in this group.
They are heading uphill, of course.
True.
But it looks like De Jong, who won that climb, has taken the maximum points, according to Race Radio, so that will give her the polka dot jersey.
Well, that's a great result for Talita De Jong, but maybe even more is possible. Maybe a solo by her to actually win a bike race instead of the Queen of the Mountains classification.
Yeah. She did suggest to me this morning that she might be looking for the breakaway again, but we never saw a serious effort from her to get away. But that's Anna Shackley there, the Scottish rider, just slipping in between Fisher, bit behind Fisher Black, her teammate.
I'm under the impression that her arm warmers are 2 sizes too big.
Yes, yeah. Of course, Fisher Black herself is only 20 years old, so you've got 2 really, really young women here in the front of this group, and they'll be working for their teammate and the local hero in the Luxembourg jersey there.
Labous is also in this group for Team DSM. Of course, she will have instructions to wait for the second group, where we can find Lea Kirchmann. This is the second group. But let's see which team is actually working in that group. Well, we see Katrien Hammers there, also the Parkhotel Valkenburg team
and there's
is leading there. But of course, yeah, she hasn't got any teammates, Lea Kirchmann.
No.
So she has to rely on the work of other teams to bring her back to that first group.
She's going to have to let that podium position go up the road now, unless she can follow number 86 there, who is Paulina Royackers again. But I think Royackers is the better climber, but that's a short effort. But looks like Royackers is getting away from her. Number 74 is going after her there. That's Hannah Ludwig.
Of course, they will try to get back to that first group, but we still have 3 more laps to go after we cross the finish line. And every time up the Rue de la Montée and this climb will take a little bit more out of the legs than the lap before. This is going to be a hard race. The final 30 kilometers is going to be pretty hard for all these riders. Look at Karin Swinkels, her head tilted slightly to the left, like she always does when there's an effort involved. And Katrien Hammers, yeah, she has to pay for her efforts early on in the race. And of course, that mighty breakaway that she was in yesterday, she will not be able to follow this group. And she's also having huge gear on again. Yeah,
you can just see that Royackers has got to the back of that leading group, but no one else managed to go with her. Royackers is a real class act uphill. There is an LA BTC Ljubljana rider just trying to get across. I wondered if it was
Justina.
Right, okay.
The Russian rider had a pretty solid day yesterday as well. Fisher Black, Anna Shackley, Christine Majerus, 3 riders of the ST Works team working together on this local lap in the final stage. And if you look at the GC and the riders of SD Works, we find Christine Majerus in 6th place as the best ranked rider of her team, although she's doing a lot of work here at the...
that surprises me to see her doing so much work.
I wonder why she's doing that as well. But maybe together with the 3 of them, they want to make it a team time trial and ensure that the group behind is not coming back. I think the team who lost out a little bit here is Movistar, although of course Norsgaard is here. She has one teammate. I just spotted. Yeah, I just spotted Leah Thomas. So they are solid there at the front. And yeah, this is not a great situation for Lea Kirchmann.
No, she's just going to have to hope that other people take her back now. She's got no teammates to work for her. She needs, if she wants to win the GC, she needs to be ahead of Norsgaard on the stage, and that's it. She has to score bonus points that Norsgaard doesn't get. So she's just got to be circumspect about it and hope that someone else can bring her back, because if she makes that move, she makes that huge effort to get across, she won't have anything left for the sprint.
We have multiple teams represented with multiple riders. SD Works have 3, Lift Cycling have 3, Trek Segafredo with Ruth Winder and Taylor Wiles. We have Rianne Marcus, Anushka Koster of the Jumbo-Visma team, 2 of the riders. Also Canyon SRAM with 2 riders represented with Harvey and Shabib. So this is a very promising first group. Can you call it a breakaway? Is this a reduced peloton?
I think it's a peloton, a reduced peloton, yeah. It's interesting. Bear in mind that Christine Majerus grew up around here, so she knows her way around. But this would be an interesting development. If she gets away off the front, she is a strong time trialist, part of the World Championship winning team time trial team from 2016 with what was then Bull Stallmans. But so if she could possibly drop some of the more dangerous riders, you just saw she was just starting to go into that wrists on the top of the bars position, but thought, whoa, hold on, I better not do that. Just the sting going out of the speed here. Liv Racing opening it up on the right hand side of your screens there with Anushka Costa thinking about following on, but it's Michaela Harvey that sits on the wheel.
Demet leading the bunch here.
And Norsgaard, unbothered.
It's very Scandinavian.
Sat there, looking very, very cool.
Clara Copponi of the FDG team is there as well. Polina Rojakers, of course. Just trying to get you all the names and the composition of this first group that seem to be the group Shursina is trying to bridge across. We don't have any riders of Valkar in that first group. Could that be Confalonieri trying to get to the front?
I did wonder if it's Confalonieri, but we haven't seen a good enough shot of her yet. But I had a message from the teams, from someone on the team who told me that we got it right with Teutenberg earlier. So I'm sure from a distance she'll be able to identify whether or not that is Confalonieri. Onto the fixed camera, which, as I said, sits on our heads, right above us. And once again, it's Majerus on the front.
18 riders.
Taylor Wiles just trying to come through, and Majerus is just looking around. What gap have we got? She needs some information. We don't have that information on the gap. But it's a good gap that they do have.
That's Shursina.
Is this Confal? Yes.
I would say yes.
Yeah. We don't see the number, but I'm pretty sure that is Confalonieri, and the rest of the race is not too far behind her.
But the next climb is coming up, and the only team working here with Femke Gerritsen in the lead is Park Hotel Valkenburg.
25 seconds. And yes, it is Confalonieri, but we just recognised it when I got the message. Thank you very much.
Okay, I got more or less the composition. We have 3 riders of SD Works in that first group with Majerus, Shackley and Fisher Black. We have 2 riders of Trek Segafredo with Ruth Winder and Taylor Wiles, 2 of the Movistar team with Emma Norsgaard, of course, in the yellow jersey, and Leah Thomas. We have Labous for Team DSM. We have Chabet and Harvey for the Canyon SRAM team. Liv Racing, Demet, Royakkers, and I think it's Bertizzolo, but I haven't seen her just yet. 3 riders for that team. 3 riders also for Jumbo-Visma with Carlijn Swinkels, Rianne Marcus and Anoushka Koster. Talita de Jong, of course, for the Bingle team, and then 1 unidentified rider of the FDG team, who I think is Coponi, but we have to confirm that later. That is the composition of the first group of 18 riders, having a lead of 26 seconds on the group on the peloton. In between, swimming in between, just were Schurzina and Convalonieri. And we just got confirmation that it's young Marie Lenay, the former junior Madison world champion, who is representing the colors of FDG.
You have to bear in mind, of course, that this group went clear on this climb. So second time around, just that little bit of pressure, they might drop a couple, but they're going to really consolidate their position. You can see the green jersey there of Lea Kirschman just near the back of this group, and that's not good for her.
Jana Korevaar of the Liv Racing team there as well. Well, I don't think they will be getting any closer to that peloton, with Rianne Marcus in the lead here. And the horses who were solidly asleep this morning are in full gallop mode now.
Coming up to the climb, and once again this is a classified climb, and you can see Talita de Jong just dropped her bottle, a look of utter disgust on her face that she dropped the bottle that time. But that was the GPM, and that was de Jong taking the maximum points.
Getting some numbers over race radio that are not correct, but most of them are. Sylvie Bertizzolo is indeed the rider for the Liv Racing team, so they're represented with 3 riders as well. Interesting group with the Commissaire's car already joining them, indicating that there is a bigger gap
than 28 seconds.
Than 28 seconds indeed.
Yeah. So the GC is, obviously the GC is on the line, but the GC leader, the yellow jersey, is still in this group, well hidden. You can just see the Movistar helmet of Leah Thomas in there. She'll be looking after her teammate. There she is in the yellow jersey. But she is really, really good at being in an excellent position within the bunch. So I don't really know how SD Works are going to approach this. They put their best placed rider on the front here.
Well, I think it was,
but it's
more
only
to,
for the descent.
Yeah, and it was more to make sure that the gap was staying, and now Majerus will try and save her energy. And of course, 105 kilometers for a rider like Christine Majerus is not a huge effort. You know, she can do this work and also be competitive in the final sprint.
I mean, she's hugely experienced rider. She's been around a very long time now. And as we said, she's the only person to have competed in all 12 previous editions of the festival Elsy Jacobs, back when it was a one-day race. She was the winner in, I nearly said 1917, which is quite a long time ago, in 2017.
There wasn't a race back then.
Bertizzolo.
I will give you the names of our breakaway or first peloton, because it seems like this is the decisive move. Neither Ciurcina nor Convalonieri managed to come across. We have as best placed rider in this group Norsgaard. She has a teammate with her with Lea Thomas. Also, the number 3 of the GC is here, Caroline Swinkels. She has 2 teammates of the Jumbo-Visma team with Rianne Marcus and Anouska Koster. We have in this group the number 5 in the GC alone for the Bingle Chivalmere team, Talita de Jong. Also in this group is Ruth Winder, the number 8 of the GC, with her teammate Taylor Wiles. Juliette Labousse, the only rider representing Team DSM, is in this group. She is currently 12 in the GC. Elise Chabet, she has teammates of Canyon Schramm with Michaela Harvey in that group as well. Best placed rider for SD Works, I have named Majerus, I think. She has 2 teammates with her, with Shackley and Neve Fisher-Black. And we have 3 riders for Liv Racing, and those are Bertizzolo, Demé and Royakkers. There we have all the names, thank you very much. And the last rider is Marie Lenné for the FDG team. All the names on your screen right now, although the names are not entirely correct. Indeed, Barbara Guarici was named on the race radio, but she is not in this group. It's still named Guarici, but it's Lea Thomas, I'm pretty sure.
It certainly looks like Lea Thomas to me.
But maybe it's not. Maybe we're wrong.
There'll be a regrouping now as this group come to terms with the fact that they are now in control of the race. And then there has to be a sort of a hierarchy worked out, because SD Works can't be expected to do all the work. Whilst they have 3 riders in the group, so do other teams. And bear in mind, the GC leader has her teammate in here, whether that be Guariski or whether it be Lea Thomas. So surely it should be down to Movistar to do just a little bit of the work to keep it away. Though, of course, Norsgaard is the strongest sprinter possibly in the race, let alone just in this group alone. On the radio there is the rider, I believe, is Thomas.
It is absolutely Thomas. We're not crazy. The race radio keeps saying it's Barbara Guarici, but it's absolutely not Barbara Guarici. So those are the names in the breakaway. Some strong teams represented with 3, SD Works, Jumbo-Visma and also Liv Cycling. And yeah, these riders are not going to get across, and that is very unlucky for Lea Kirchmann, who was 2nd in the GC before today, at only 4 seconds from Norsgaard.
Lea Thomas, of course, was the winner of the inaugural, and as far as I'm aware, only Women's Tour of Scotland back in 2019.
Yeah, that wasn't a big success, was it?
Financially, I think the race was very well organised, but yeah, financially it was a disaster. 40 seconds we're hearing on race radio for this leading group over the group of Kirschman, which is obviously the green jersey of Lea Kirschman of DSM. Be interesting to see how DSM approach this. Will they try and take a stage win with Juliette Labousse, or will they sit in and hope it comes back so they can do something with it?
A little bit of communication there. You can see the bands on the sleeves of Neve Fisher-Black, the ferns of New Zealand, as a former national champion of her country. Anouska Koster.
Yeah.
Of course, they have strength in numbers with both Koster and Caroline Swinkels in the top 10 of this race. So they have to make it an aggressive race. Team led here by Lieselot Delcroix, a former Belgian pro cyclist. It's interesting to see how they will play it. Will they try to avoid a bunch sprint and, well, basically hand the victory on a silver platter to Emma Norsgaard?
I mean,
or will they just wait long enough for the other group to come back?
Costa started the day at 10 seconds. 10 seconds down, it should be down to Movistar to chase her. If she's trying to make a move, it's Movistar that have got to chase her down. Other teams might want to be there with her. but it's surely got to be Movistar who are defending the overall race lead, that make the effort to close any gaps from someone who is a threat. Costa is a good time trialist, and if she gets away, no one wants to work. Flicking the elbow, Michaela Harvey not coming through, Sofia Bertizzolo from Live Racing just coming through to the, just sliding off the front really, and Costa onto her wheel. And all the while, the yellow jersey just sits there.
Yeah.
Bertizzolo, let's get this moving, let's get this moving. And it seems only Liv, Jumbo Visma and SD Works want to put the effort in here.
Which is weird, because the other group is coming back
They're
fast.
coming back, yeah.
With Teutenberg, with Bredewold, with Kirchmann, Kuipers, Hansen, Shapira. Some of the riders in this group. Bianic was there as well. And, well, practically the entire Park Hotel Valkenburg team. And if they let them come back, and it looks like they will, because there's not a lot of cooperation going on here, yeah, it's an opportunity lost, I think, for this team. And, of course, Emma Norsgaard hasn't done any work at all. She's just hanging on, trying to save energy as much as she can for that final bunch kick here in Garnich. But it would be a lot easier for Norsgaard if she has to sprint against 17 others than against 40 others. So it's interesting that Leah Thomas is not participating here. But now Taylor Wiles has joined the lead of the group. Winder is, of course, one of those riders who can attack on the climb, the second climb of the local lap, and try and stay clear.
Just saying 50 or 15 seconds.
I would
on
say
race.
it's 15.
Yeah, but there's still a race car in between the two groups. And your final classification for the climbers jersey, for the polka dot jersey, is De Jong with 31 points, Hammers with 18, and Danny Christmas with 7.
Now De Jong has to finish the race to pick up that polka dot jersey, but more is possible because Talita De Jong is also pretty close in the GC. Only 10 seconds behind Norsgaard.
Yeah.
It's only SD Works doing the work with both Fisher Black and Shackley. Leah Thomas now getting to the front maybe to do a little bit of the work to try and stay clear. Let's see what the actual difference is at the moment. We haven't got a pretty good shot. We'll have to wait until they cross the finish line, which they will do in about a kilometre from now. It looks like the gap is widening up, Owen. It's getting a little bit bigger.
Oh yes, yeah.
It's
So perhaps that was
more
50,
than it was.
50 seconds that we heard.
There's always a breaking point, is there, where the chasers
finally give up,
give up. And the only team actually working in that second group, or two teams I should say, were Volcar, because Consoni is not here. There's no Balsamo. They have two of their, riders with a big chance of actually netting a good result here, not in this group. And also Park Hotel Valkenburg, the youngsters who missed out on this move.
Yeah. You just see a couple of the riders who have abandoned just going into the car park from the Andy Schleck team, And it's not like Andy Schleck is a non-participant in that team. In 2019, I was talking to him over one of those lovely hot dogs.
Oh, getting hungry now. Well, still trying to work also CERATIZIT.
Hammers is going to come to the front now. They want Colin Falanieri to go for the sprint, and Leah Kirchmann will be very happy if Hammers can bring them back. I mean, Kirchmann is the kind of rider that will not suffer on this climb. She was clearly in a bad position as she went into this. So there is a chance that she could bridge across if this group don't keep working. Which is why it makes it nonsensical that Thomas is doing no work, because they will want the to stay away. If Kirschman gets across, she is then a threat on GC. As it is now, she's out of the top 10, I would have thought.
Back on towards the climb, and this is a place where Kirchmann was not positioned well, and she was outsmarted by the competition. The gap is going up. It's more than 25 seconds at the moment, and Kirchmann has no team support in this team. It will make no sense to ask Juliette Labousse to drop back and do the work here, because on her own she can't bring Kirchmann back. Kirchmann has to hope that maybe Volkart will try to do something, but I think this is a lost cause.
Balsamo's not in that group. Is that Balsamo?
No, it's not.
No. Oh, there's
No, it's not either.
Consoni.
The Balsamo's not here.
Yeah.
I think it's Persico. I think it's lost for the chasing group. As long as these riders, these 18 riders, will keep on working and not play poker or play games, because then a gap like that can easily be bridged by a rider like Kirchmann.
Just trying to get a clock on this group, but it's proving a little difficult at the moment.
Anouska Koster with the red, white and blue bands on her arm. It's been a while ago that she was the Dutch national champion. 17
or 16, I think.
But she has found her mojo back and is back at the top of women's pro cycling on a team that is very ambitious for the future. They have the same facilities as the men's pro team have. So that's an interesting prospect. It's fantastic that Jumbo-Visma have invested in a women's team. Of course, they have a development team as well. Almost the entire package. Michaela Harvey then. Followed again by Fisher Black, the two compatriots. Chabet, the Swiss national champion. Labousse, Taylor Wiles with their face again, always.
Where's Mejerus? At the very back.
With Roy Akkers. This is, of course, the place where you have to make a difference as that first group. And look how relaxed and strong Emma Norsgaard is looking there.
Yeah, yeah.
Swinkel still with that little head tilt, or not a little, there's a lot of head tilting going on there.
Facially, I think Niamh Fisher-Black looks like Emma Johansson with shades on.
Yeah, I couldn't say. I couldn't say. Maybe, although she's much smaller.
Oh, she's much smaller than Emma, yeah. Chabet just out of the saddle. Looks like she's trying to make a move, Chabet.
Chabet, very important domestique on the team, of course, in support of a rider like Kasia Niewiadoma. These are races that she can go for a result herself. She's still up there at 14 seconds in 13th place, which means that she has to attack and try to win time on top of winning the stage. But if somebody can do it, she can do it. Of course, she takes great pride in working for the team. But yeah, just like she said, of course you want to win yourself as well.
Yeah, she's got a huge engine. It's very highly regarded, I understand.
She made the combination of going to med school and being a cyclist for many years. She graduated, I think, 1.5 years ago. Comes from the French-speaking part of Switzerland, Elise Chabet. We should pronounce it, from Geneva. And I always admire riders who do have a dual career, and especially a very demanding education like med school, and then putting in all the effort on the bike is a great achievement by her and also others. Doesn't have to necessarily be med school, but combining two things is something that you don't see as often in the men's peloton as you see it in the women's peloton.
No. I think Thijs Benoot was competing at the top level and still studying, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was doing economics, yeah.
Wait.
That was a little misjudgment there by the camera operator. But there's enough room on the road here. now going towards the second climb again.
So Chabet is now off the front.
In this group we find Hansen, we find Bianic, we find almost the entire Park Hotel Valkenburg team, and back to the front of the race with the attack of Elie Chabet. Gap is going up over 30 seconds now. Looks like a done deal for these 18 riders. The winner of the stage is going to be here, and the winner of the GC naturally as well. And you see that Christine Majerus, after doing some initial work, is now settling for last place.
Yeah. She'll be able to, I mean, it's a small bunch, but she'll be able to navigate her way through here quite comfortably. But it disappoints me in a way that Movistar have not been forced to do some work. You could just see the chasers further down the hill coming out of the village, and then the team vehicles coming through the gap behind them.
Was it on this course that Rianne Marcus almost won the stage? It was on the last day, I remember that.
It would have been then, since we've been here, yes.
So maybe she's going to settle some things.
Yeah, you never know. She looks comfortable in there. She's looked good all week, hasn't she? Well, I say all week. It's 3 days. In the last 3 days. Right, Movistar to the front now. Leah Thomas on the front.
Just enjoying the scenery a little bit. Looking so relaxed.
Strong rider. And there's still attempts to
this
get
is
across.
Balsamo.
That's Balsamo, yeah.
Followed by Shapira, who of course shouldn't be doing this with 2 of her teammates up front. Taking...
and Kirschman just making the move to get on the back of that.
So missing from the current top 10 in that first group is of course Lea Kirchmann, Convalonieri, Uneken, and that's it. So they have missed the split, those 3 riders from the top 10.
Yeah.
And well, this was an attempt by Volkart, but it looks a little bit half-heartedly.
It's interesting that Balsamo is working. She won't, if they were to bring it across, she won't be working for herself. I see Consoni is in there, but further back.
This is more a move of desperation, and this is not going to bring them back.
Yeah.
A little push there by Ruth Winder, who were her compatriot Taylor Wiles. The iconic duo of Americans on the Trek Segafredo team.
Yeah. I spoke to Ruth Winder after she did the Everesting thing up some mountain in Boulder, Colorado, and she said it was hell on earth.
Yeah, Everesting, that was the thing during lockdown.
Yeah, I did contemplate doing it myself and perhaps trying to write a story about it, but
don't.
But I realised the hill I picked. I realised it was going to take me 36 hours, and bear in mind how flat it is near where I live. And I thought that would be the interesting selling point. Do it in a flat area.
Ooh, that was a near miss there. I know that the current record is held by Ronan McLaughlin.
That's right.
Editor of Cycling Tips. Fantastic movie made there on the Menmore Gap in Ireland. Completely maniac approach to the entire effort, weighing food, weighing your bike, having all sorts of parts on it that are not allowed because on normal road bikes, but of course you don't have to restrict to that 6.8 kilograms limit if you do an Everesting attempt, and it was spectacular. A little bit lull in the action here with just over 10 kilometers to go. If you're just tuning in, this is the final stage of the CERATIZIT Festival Elsy Jacobs, a 3-day stage race in Luxembourg. We have a breakaway, or actually a first peloton of 18 riders going clear about 20 kilometers ago, and this is the decisive move. We have the yellow jersey in here, and that is the winner of the first stage yesterday, Emma Norsgaard of the Movistar team. She has a teammate there leading that group in Leah Thomas. Other riders free of SD Works with Majuru Shackley and Fisher Black, 2 of Trek Segafredo with Wiles and Winder, 2 also of Canyon SRAM with Harvey and Chabet. We have Labous, we have 3 riders of Live Racing with Bertizzolo, Demet and Royakkers, and also 3 of Jumbo-Visma with Caroline Swinkels in that polka dot jersey, or in that white jersey today. It's best young rider, a jersey that she has on loan, by the way, by Norsgaard. Also Marcus and Koster, the 3 Dutch riders of Jumbo-Visma, and only the lonely, but still looking very strong, Talita de Jong.
Interesting that she's quite happy to come back. They're going to come back.
Oh, that is a situation that I had not anticipated.
No.
And that is, I think an opportunity lost by those first 18 riders.
Yeah. Of course, it could be that Movistar are quite happy to take a bunch sprint from the bigger group because they know how strong that Norsgaard is. They know she's the fastest rider here.
But still, you know, with 10k to go, you had a gap of 30 seconds. Just defended. But the other 17 or 16 riders in that first group also know that they're absolutely not going to beat Norsgaard to the finish line.
Yeah, those cars need to get out of there. It's pretty swiftish, I think.
Well, my prediction went completely awry here. I thought these riders would stay away, but apparently the bike racing gods have decided otherwise, and we are going to see a regrouping shortly with, well, some interesting prospects, of course, in that second group, most notably with Consoni, Convalonieri and Kirchmann. There we are. We have Regroupement Général. Well, the 2 groups coming back together, and despite all the work done by SD Works mostly, they didn't manage to stay clear. And we have a new situation at 10 kilometers to go, and new interesting names in that group. Of course, Trek Segafredo have 2 more riders now coming to the front. FDG had 2 riders in that group, and also new teams now with Volcar, for example, and also Convalonieri of the CERATIZIT team. Rianne Marcus is going to try and attack, followed by Sjane Korevaar in the purple of Live Racing. Rianne Marcus from a small town near Amsterdam called Zwarte Kat, or Black Cat. It's on the most popular
They're letting
route
it go. They're letting it go. They're not able to close the gap. This is a changed dynamic. And interestingly, the group hasn't come back, has it? Yes, it has as well.
Some of the riders have.
Yeah.
The second peloton is now all the way, but also still a minute behind. So she comes from a small town near Amsterdam.
A lot of looking about as Bertitz. No, sorry.
On actually the most most favourite route of everybody who owns a bike in Amsterdam.
Really?
And on Sunday, it's a parade of mostly testosterone.
An expensive carbon.
Exactly. More attacks with Michaela Harvey there for Canyon SRAM. Look at how big the peloton has become. She is going after Rianne Marcus. And Marcus, of course, tried this before, this move, and came, well, a few hundred meters short. The same situation that happened 1.5 years ago in the Bulls Ladies Tour. She has tried so often to be aggressive, because she can't win a bunch sprint, but she can do it like this. Marcus, a very tall rider, always with that aero helmet with her name on it. Little peek over the shoulder as we are starting the climb for the last time on the way to the school And this is where the climb starts in earnest. And this is where she has to make a difference. Let's see where the group is with Loretta Hansen leading that group for Trek Segafredo.
Still, Michaela Harvey still trying hard to get across that gap. It was the gap was foreshortened there, but it's a big bunch. Can't quite see, but I'd estimate 30 odd.
Oh, more than that.
Yeah.
Some riders trying to get to the front there with Michaela Harvey for Canyon SRAM. That was the first kick up, but the second part of the climb is worse. A slight breather here in between that first part towards the school and now on towards the second part. Still another 800 meters to go.
Taylor Wiles.
With another attack by Taylor Wiles. Harvey is still there, Koster is still there, also Fisher Black is still there, Chabet and Emma Norsgaard still at the front with some new teammates with Bieniek. Maybe going to try the same thing like they did yesterday with the Bieniek, Thomas and Norsgaard Tridente.
She's coming back, obviously, but it's taken them much longer than I'd imagined. She's a strong rider.
We have some proper Taylor Wiles grinning and Anuska Costa
right,
mirroring it there on the wheel.
And Norsgaard is much nearer the front now, much nearer the front. It's a much bigger group and she needs to be better positioned.
Let's see where the green jersey is, if she's not caught out again on this little climb. And she is caught out again. Yeah. Has trouble following the pace on this climb, Lea Kirchmann. As we have Elise Chabet trying again. And look how superior Emma Norsgaard is looking.
She looks in control, Norsgaard, there, doesn't she? Completely in control.
And again, Lea Kirchmann has trouble following that first group. There is a gap there behind Ruth Winder, the final rider in that group, and Kirchmann.
I didn't get to talk about Luxembourg wine.
No, we don't have time today. Maybe next year.
Maybe next year, yeah. I'll keep my notes.
Shirin van Androoy for the Trek Segafredo team there with Winder. They have strength in numbers now, the American squad. Thomas still there for Movistar with Norsgaard. And I think Bieniek, she's just behind in that group with Kirchmann. We have, well, more or less the same riders as we had before, with the exception of having Bossa or having Consonni in this group now.
Yeah.
Chabet tries again. Another attack by Elise Chabet.
Same place, same time.
And look at that magnificent bike that she has in the colours of the national flag.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Fantastic work by Canyon. Norsgaard has one as well, by the way. Since a month, she told me this morning.
Okay, yeah. And that's Shirin van Androoy just there. Oh, no, Norsgaard is thinking, I think I need to be here. And I don't blame her. It's a good move. And then it's Van Androoy, and then Christine Majerus, and then Taylor Wiles is the next rider back. Norsgaard comes to the front now. The first time she's been on the front all day.
Lea Kirchmann is catching back on there, but that first climb of the local lap is a climb that's pretty hard for Kirchmann, but she has time to catch back on before we go towards the second climb of this 8.8 kilometer lap, and that tops at about 3K from the finish line.
And she's come out of that descent, as Chabet did, really, with a slight gap. Inside the final 6 kilometers now.
This is what confidence does to a rider. That what happened yesterday was not only a stage win for Emma Norsgaard, the first for her Movistar team, but this was a huge confidence boost that will enable her to win many, many more races this season, and probably already today. Another attack by Harvey.
She's been super aggressive, hasn't she?
And now we have Jadeviel, the rider of FDG there. Another attack on the left side of the road with Anouska Koster again. Kirchmann has to get to the front a little bit more if she wants to follow the action. She only has one teammate in here with Labous. And now it's Taylor Wiles attacking on the first parts of the climb, followed by Thomas and Fisher Black.
I can't see Labous, but I'm guessing she's just finding her teammate now. It's a
To
question
be honest, I don't see her yet. But there she's there on the left side of the road. There she is.
just
also,
on her teammate's wheel. Yeah.
Canyon Schramm have strength in numbers here as well, with Shapira joining the team. Another attack by Ruth Winder, and look at the focus on the face of Emma Norsgaard. Ruth Winder with a grin. She tried it on the climb on Simmer Farm yesterday as well, and she couldn't really create that distance, and she can't now. Sitting on the wheel of Emma Norsgaard is Talita de Jong.
I do like how aggressive Winder is. She's a great rider to watch.
She has proven that aggressive racing pays off with her win in Brabantse Pijl. Another attack by Trek Segafredo, then by Taylor Wiles. Countered there by Leah Thomas. Also Harvey there. Two riders of the Ale Cipollini squad in this group now. They missed out on the first move, but they're now here with Chursina, and I don't know who the other rider is.
Kirschman is just gradually moving up the group.
And look at Caroline Swinkel. She's on her way to a top 3 in a stage race, and that's a great result for the Dutch rider, Caroline Swinkels. She is 22 years of age, and she is the former junior world champion in Qatar in 2016 in a time trial. And she's coming of age here, Caroline Swinkels. Another attack by Winder and Chabet. What a fantastic final lap we're watching here. And great work there by Movistar trying to counter this again.
Bit of a gap, but I don't think that's going to last. There is a gap before we've got Winder, Chabet, Leah Thomas and Juliette Labous.
And this is an interesting situation. Majerus is trying to bridge across, and that is the cue for Emma Norsgaard. I'm not letting you go. I'm on your wheel. Talita de Jong at the front of the bunch there, trying to bring these 4 riders back. Winder with a Taylor Wiles worth of smiling and grinning there. Also fantastic riding today by Elise Chabet. Another attack there by Taylor Wiles. They're really doing it in tandem today by Trek Segafredo.
Really
Winder, Wiles, and Emma Norsgaard strong again. We're almost at the top of the climb now. And that means that the most difficult part is now behind us in this lap. A fast descent and then a bunch kick. It's looking really good for Norsgaard.
Majerus is starting to suffer now. You can just see on her face she's starting to really, really pull faces.
And there is your pick. Convalonieri is coming to the front there.
Yeah.
She is now in 5th place. She was 2nd yesterday, Maria Giulia Convalonieri, and she is ready.
This is fantastic.
Getting rid of that bottle.
Yeah. Fantastic racing, just to see the effort these people are putting in. This is absolutely awesome. Chabet is gasping for air, so is Confalonieri. It's wonderful.
Well, very considerate by Emma Norsgaard to really spit down and not sideways. We are going towards a very interesting final, but panting there really is Taylor Wiles. Like, my God, I've tried so hard and still everybody's on my wheel. Then it's Valerie Demet trying with Nie Fisher Black and also Cecchini. Cecchini is fast at the finish line as well. Could be an interesting prospect for SD Works. Valerie Demet, she's racing wonderfully aggressive all weekend, and she's trying to make a difference here. Little flick of the elbow, but Nie Fisher Black, she's done so much work already in that initial breakaway of 18. Winder, Swinkels, Harvey, Cecchini and Norsgaard
Cecchini is keeping out of the wind. And I noticed in the second group, obviously she had teammates ahead before this group came together. She was sitting out of the wind then. So it looks like Cecchini could be the option. Just looks across at a teammate now.
We're going towards
and
that.
As soon as I say that, she comes to the front.
Well, it's an interesting final. Swinkels, always with that head tilted, going into that little chicane here in the village, with Cecchini being the first one to start the descent, and Norsgaard on the wheel of Leah Thomas already. Kirchmann is trying to get to the front, as is Magirus and Convalonieri. Those are the biggest rivals in this group of Emma Norsgaard.
Cecchini started the day in 19th overall, 17 seconds back. So if she wants to win the GC, she and Swinkels have to make a move. She has to beat Swinkels.
It's going to be really, really tight. Swinkels is in a great position here, but Leah Thomas, of course, is going to bring back Emma Norsgaard. On the wheel of Norsgaard is Magirus, and behind her, I think it's Balsamo. No, it's not. It's Consoni. Winder is there. Kirchmann is there. All the big rivals are there. Convalonieri trying to get to the front, straight through the wind there for the Italian rider of CERATIZIT.
Bertizzolo is just issuing some instructions to Demey. Yeah. Just talking to a teammate as they were off on the one side of the road together.
Great work there by Elena Cecchini, keeping that pace up.
So they're going all in for Magirus. Yeah.
Of course, it would be fantastic for Christine Magirus to bring home the win here in Garnich. But there's some big competition in this group, most notably Kirchmann and Norsgaard. Going into that final kilometer, we are getting ready for a super sprint. 500 meters to go. We have the turn onto the main road leading towards the finish line. It's an uphill bunch kick. It's 4% average in the final 300 meters, and then it levels out for the final 100 meters. Cecchini getting to the front again. Shackley.
Anna Shackley, yeah. Anna Shackley coming through Costa there, right on the edge of the road. And Norsgaard still in position, but the green jersey of Leah Kirchmann is there, just coming down, taking the left-hander now.
Everybody is trying to get that wheel of Emma Norsgaard. And it's Kirchmann who has the wheel at the moment. Norsgaard, Kirchmann, also Convalonieri with a very early sprint. Convalonieri through the middle. And Norsgaard has to make up some room. She goes to the wheel of Convalonieri, but seems to have trouble. Or is she? No, she has no trouble at all. Convalonieri on Norsgaard. It's going to be Emma Norsgaard again, bringing home the second stage and the GC in the CERATIZIT Festival. Elsy Jacobs. But that was a close sprint.
It was a close sprint. She went with about 175 meters to go, Convalonieri, and I thought she had it, but Norsgaard is just a powerful woman, isn't she? She just came round there. Really fabulous sprint there, and a patient and confident sprint. But it was close. Same 1-2 as yesterday.
Same 1-2 as yesterday. I want to see that sprint again. I think we're going to see a repeat. Yeah. And because it's in a slight turn, it's pretty hard to see. But it's pretty clear that Emma Norsgaard won it. There we are with the final sprint again, still with 75 meters to go on the wheel of Convalonieri. So leaves it rather late compared to yesterday, at least, that is, with Norsgaard in yellow with a final powerful push on the pedals and winning it ahead of Convalonieri and Bertizzolo. I think that's the top three of today. Great work by Norsgaard, who was absolutely bossing this entire stage.
And so we've got Norsgaard as first, Convalonieri second, and our timing gives us Bertizzolo in third, Persico fourth, Marie Lenné in fifth, Talita de Jong with an excellent sprint when you consider the amount of work that she's done in sixth, Kirchmann seventh, Labous, Swinkels, Demey is your top 10.
And that means that the top three in the GC is not is changing, because Convalonieri is, of course, taking bonus seconds, bringing her to either second or third place. We have to know the decimals on the time trial stage, which I don't have at the moment, because that will be the decisive factor. They both end up at 4 seconds from Emma Norsgaard, who has won this race, or 14 seconds I should say, won this race by winning 2 stages, and it seems like the ban is broken for her. And like we said yesterday, it's the start of more and more and more and more.
She's got a lovely expressive face, hasn't she? I think she might be quite pleased with that.
She should be.
She should, yeah.
Well, fantastic weekend for Team Movistar here in CERATIZIT Festival, Elsy Jacobs. And thankfully we had a dry final here in Garnich.
And the team's 5th, if you take the GC, it's the team's 5th victory of the season, with Van Vleuten winning at Dwars door Vlaanderen and at the
Ronde van Vlaanderen.
yeah, the Ronde, and then obviously stage 1, stage 2, and the GC here for Norsgaard.
Great group picture here by, of course, Oudbianik, Leah Thomas and Norsgaard. And out of the race already was Alba Teruel, but she is greeting her teammates. Another great teamwork by Team Movistar. And remember, she's only 21.
Yeah, yeah. We're going to see a lot of her over the coming years, I think.
The start of today in the sunshine with the jersey wearers on the first row, with, of course, Norsgaard in yellow, Kirchmann in green. We had the polka dot jersey for Katrien Hammers and the white jersey for Carlijn Swinkels. And Christine Mangerus as the Luxembourg champion also on the first line. Claire Stay Strong is a reference to Claire Faber, the rider of the Andy Schleck-Molosch team, who was hit by a car earlier this week and is still recovering in hospital for multiple fractures. A crash early on in the race. One of the riders on the deck is Kuipers, holding her wrist there. And then an early attack by Misha Bredewold, a young rider from the Park Hotel Valkenburg team, a Dutch rider who managed to escape for over 40 kilometers on her own. Of course, she would have loved to have a little bit of help in this breakaway attempt, but nobody could help her. Lorena Wiebes, the rider who won the prologue and crashed so heavily yesterday, abandoned after doing some work for her team in the early stages of today's stage, which was 105 kilometers from Garnich to Garnich. Misha Bredewold, maximum lead, just over a minute, but she was caught by the peloton led by Taylor Wiles. Valiant effort there by Misha Bredewold, and remember that name, we will hear more of her in the future. Then a group of 18 riders, initially without Emma Norsgaard, but she manages to bridge across. Very strong group here, where Lea Kirchmann missed out. But teams with 3 representatives, FD Works, Liv Cycling, Jumbo-Visma. And despite a healthy gap and a lot of very strong riders in that first group, they let the peloton come back. The peloton with Kirchmann and also with Con Vallonieri. And Con Vallonieri was the rider who started the sprint at 175 meters. Looked very good for the Italian, but then coming off the wheel of the Italian rider of CERATIZIT WNT is Emma Norsgaard in yellow, bossing another day on the bike, winning the stage. Not as confidently as she did on Saturday, but a centimetre is enough to win a race, or even a millimetre, as we've seen in the Amstel Gold Race or Brabantse Pijl, meaning that she has 2 stage wins and the GC, and a fantastic weekend for the team here in Luxembourg.
Interesting to see how Confalonieri decided that she had to try something different than she did yesterday. So she tried something different. It didn't work. The other rider, Norsgaard, was just the more powerful woman. But she's thinking about how to get her sprint. But such a good rider, and according to to Pro Cycling Stats, hasn't had a win.
Confalonieri? Never?
Yeah.
Oh, she's had a lot of top 3 places.
Yeah. Great rider. Rihanna Marcus there, riding back to the team bus, having her first recovery drink. Just saw as she heads down with her teammate.
Which means that Emma Norsgaard goes home with no less than 3 jerseys out of the 4 available jerseys. The yellow one for winning the GC, the points jersey, and also the best young rider jersey. The only other rider on the podium is going to be Talita de Jong, the winner of the Queen of the Mountains classification. And that is all the results we have for you here in Luxembourg. There's a lot more women's racing coming up this month with stage races in Spain, for example. Valencia, Burgos is coming up. And also at the end of this month, Thüringen. So a lot of great racing to look forward to in women's cycling, and of course in men's cycling as well, with the Giro starting in 6 days.
And the guys on the motorbikes there, they are the people that that make the roads as safe as they possibly can for the peloton to race. This race employs, I say employs, but around 200 people volunteer on this race to get it going, and we should thank those people for putting on such a great race.
And a safe race.
Yes. Yep.
Excellent Amsterdam aan de organisateur willen feliciteren. Die wonnen bij kosten trots der pandemie, trots de
I think
we're going to see the sprint one more time with, well, it looks like Norsgaard is boxed in just a little bit behind the 2 Italians, Bertizzolo and Convalonieri. And Convalonieri was looking really, really good there. And it was until the final, well, 30 meters that Norsgaard gets past her and then beats her on the line. But this was not a sprint like we saw on Saturday. The differences were much, much smaller. But Norsgaard shows her class again here in Luxembourg, and many, many more races to come in her career.
Sensible sprint as well. She stayed on Confalonieri's wheel for a good while before she was forced, to have to come past. And that is rather a nice looking bicycle she's got, isn't it?
It's really pretty. Well, thank you very much for watching this 13th edition of the CERATIZIT Festival Elsy Jacobs. My name is José Bain, and also on behalf of Owen Rogers, thank you very much for watching, and we hope to see you soon.